Richie, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's good to talk to you again. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Well, here we are. Yes.
So I gotta ask, well, first off, thanks so much for doing this, man. It's always I was looking forward to do this. I always had a great time the last time we talked, and so this is I'm just looking forward to talking to you again.
Right on, brother. Cool.
Well, how is your wife and your beautiful Doberman?
Well, the beautiful Doberman is laying on the floor right behind me.
What a beauty. We have a black Doberman.
Oh, you do?
Best dog we have ever had in our entire lives, my wife and I. He's incredible.
Where's he now?
He is actually sleeping in my wife's office. He goes back and forth. My wife works downstairs, and I have my office and studio up here. He likes to divide his love between the two of us, I guess. Got to give the shout out to the Doberman lovers.
We had one when I was a young boy, and
Mhm.
he was a great dog. And then, so this is the fourth one in my life. It's the fourth Doberman, and great dogs. They're very smart, a lot of personality.
They need a lot of running though, but
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
short spurts, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Short spurt. Yeah. We have quite a bit of land here, so he gets to go out and run around. We just took him in for rattlesnake training, which is really crazy, but it works. Previous Doberman, one afternoon, he was growling and barking in a very aggressive way, and we came around. He was about 12 feet away, and there was a big black rattlesnake. Uh,
Oh,
Rare, you don't see that down there
yeah.
much. And curled up. It wasn't rattling, but it was sitting there, and the dog was letting us know.
Yeah.
And so there was like an area above that I could go walk to. So I just took the hose and lightly put some water, on the snake.
Uh-huh.
It didn't like it, so it took off into the field. But the
Hmm.
dog knew not to mess with it. So we got Rusty trained about 2 weeks ago. We took him to the place to get him trained. So it's pretty important where we live to make sure he doesn't, stick his snout in the wrong place.
Looking at my notes from the last interview we did, which was in 2020, and it was right around the time you were putting out 50. A lot has happened since then. And I guess one of the things I like to ask people about, especially if I'm talking to them now, is how about the pandemic and the lockdown? Did that affect your, or even influence or inspire you for better or for worse?
I don't really know. I don't think it had very much effect on me, to be honest. I mean, it seemed really obviously weird, which it was, and the unknown and Jesus, what's going on, what's going to happen. But as I sit here today, I don't see how it really had any effect on me. You know what I mean? I mean, then it certainly did. I mean, I had to, it had effect on me. I got sick, and people died, and I mean, it was
Mhm.
a horrible thing. But now it's just another thing that happened, I guess.
So I'm a songwriter and a musician myself. And one of the things that I noticed was that as artists, you could be affected one way or the other with it. And I kind of embraced it. So I use that as like a really like a catalyst for just kind of expanding creativity.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people did. I don't feel like for me, and I know why, because I had just come before the pandemic happened. I had just finished and released, a 50 song album. So I
Yeah.
was already in an extraordinary, you know, situation of writing and recording and so um I wasn't really in that I was in the mindset of now going to perform. So it really was just a nice big long break. Not maybe not so nice, but it didn't put me in a place, oh, now suddenly I'm going to be creative. It's like, well, I already was creative.
Hmm.
Now I'm ready to not be creative. So, I mean, I did do stuff though. I mean, I built this crazy bench thing I went around the property and found all these like building materials that were never used, like bricks and wood. And I made this really cool bench that kind of sits and has a great view. And that took me a lot of time. And then I made a big wood deck that, I put the barbecue on there. And so I did that kind of stuff. Did another part. We kind of leveled this area with the idea of someday we could put another structure there, but now it's, the retaining walls are there. So I did that sort of stuff. So, but it wasn't music stuff.
But that's cool because that kind of goes back to the idea of sparking some other form of creativity. I talked to a lot of my friends who are in touring bands, and some of them had just come off the road for like a year and a half touring or a year, and they were like, "This just made us go into the studio and record and spend time with our families because that's what we would have done regardless."
It's funny. I remember as you're talking about this, I remember that I had a lot of dates booked. I had like a big tour booked, and it was like global. And I remember I said to my wife, I said, "Man, it's weird. I have a lot of anxiety about going on the road right now. I
Mhm.
almost wish I was going into a position where I was taking a break." And then there it was. Not the kind of break that I necessarily wanted, but
When we talked in 2020, we were talking about like your friendship with Adrian Smith. And
yeah,
I asked you, I was like, "So does this mean we're going to get something from you guys?" And you were like, maybe, I can't really say. And then lo and behold, here comes the album.
that record was done. And we were not really, actually, was it done? Yeah, yeah. Because when 50/50 came out, 50 for 50, I went to Turks and Caicos and I did some work on the record.
Yeah.
And then we came back here in March and everything was recorded. And I remember sitting in this room with Adrian when the pandemic was, when it was places were shutting down. Talking, he was just trying to decide where to go because they had plans to go somewhere. And then, do I go back to England or do I go here or there?
Mhm.
And there it was. It hit and changed everything. That's why, making plans is cool and everything, but you never know what's around the corner.
That album was one of the albums that really got me through the pandemic. Like, I'm not generally a fan, or a big fan, I should say, of blues, rock, or whatever. But
Sure.
there was something that you guys did, and I don't know what that element was, but something you guys did kept you from going all the way to that line, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
it
of
was like, it's almost
course.
like I could see it coming, but it never went all the way. And I was like, how did they do that? That was amazing.
I thank you for that perspective. That's really nice. And that's good because what that says to me is that it has its own personality, which is good. I mean, and that kind of thing, I think that's something that has to happen naturally. That whole idea of, oh, well, what kind of record are you going to make? So, well, I have no idea until it's made. Once I'm done with the creative process, then we'll know what kind of record we but that, I know that's not, you know, maybe I would have more commercial success if I changed my attitude, but that's what I love about the creative process is the unknown and being able to just kind of get in a room with an idea and let it develop and have flexibility, let me try this, let me try that, and you know, see where it takes you, as opposed to saying, well, I want to go here, and then you're kind of in a weird position where you're trying to go somewhere as opposed to let the creativity take you there.
You never seem to have made the same album twice, which I always thought was great because to me, it's exactly like what you said was that not only is it great as a fan to hear something unpredictable and to like be like, I don't know what I'm going to get out of the next Richie Kotzen project or album or whatever.
Hmm.
But as a writer and a musician and singer yourself, putting aside the idea that like, okay, maybe I could be a commercially successful, but I don't want to conform to doing what I need to do or what's expected of someone to be commercially successful.
Well, I've been in both scenarios. I mean, I've been in a situation with a major label twice with really powerful people, and it's interesting because I was very young, so this probably plays a part of it. But I was very stubborn, and it was in my mind. It's like, no, it has to be this way. I have to do it this way. And so, in both instances, things did not fare well for me. Um, it was me not really wanting to listen and that sort of thing. But not because I was an idiot. It was
Mhm.
because I really believed that I knew myself and knew where I wanted to go creatively. And back then there was a lot of weirdness in the business. I remember one of the guys telling me who could be in the band. I wanted to, all sorts. I don't even want to get into it because it's some of the stuff is outrageous, but like real weird stuff. Like, well, no, you can't do this because of that. No, that's not possible. I don't want you doing this. I don't want that. None of it based on music, none of it based on art, all of it based on optics and just weirdness. It's a very strange business, especially back then. The late 80s and the early 90s, it was a very weird time for rock and being on the other side, on a major label artist and
Mhm.
MTV and people, executives deciding what's cool and what's not, as opposed to, you know, how how I thought it was supposed to be. You just made great music and put it out, and then, the audience will let you know how good
Right.
it is. You know what I mean?
Are you glad that you took that route? Because I'm glad you did, because
Mm.
by not conforming, I feel like you gave me, as a music fan, as a fan of yours, some incredible music that wasn't on the same level or wavelength as whatever everyone else was
Yeah.
doing. So like when I wanted to listen to something different from whatever, like Richie Kotzen was what I put on, or
Yeah,
Motherhead's Family Reunion,
sure.
so looking back on it, are you glad that you didn't conform?
I don't look back on much. I have to be honest. I don't see the, you know, I have a situation happen. I can look at it at that moment and see the outcome and learn, how and why and this and that. And if I like the outcome, maybe I do it again. If I don't, maybe I learn, well, don't do that again. But, I don't sit here and say, gee, had I listened to this particular executive, maybe this would have happened that way. It's a big waste of energy. And
Right.
I think that everything that happens, every single step, and then you're here. Now we're here. All those little steps uh, were definitive to create a situation of what is happening now. So for what you said for yourself, if you're enjoying, a record, that was released, uh, the argument is, well, that would have never happened because it would have never been written had the artist not going through these particular things. So I guess the answer is everything is the way it's supposed to be.
It's like the order of the universe. Things happen for a reason. There's times where a song really connects with somebody, and it means something. Like even if it's just a line or a verse or a chorus. What is a song that's like that for you? When you hear it, you feel like that's me in there.
Are you talking about one of my songs?
No, just in gen. No, like someone else.
Oh, oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'd have to actually. I'm sure there's a lot of them, but off the top of my head, I don't know. There was a song when it came out that I remember being in the studio. I was in San Francisco recording something because I did a lot of work in the Bay Area before I
Mhm.
moved to LA, and I was reading Don Henley lyrics to "End of the Innocents." That's the name of the song? And that was really a powerful song, like the lyrics in that song. I was like, this is really something. There's a lot of them. I mean, I could make a long list um, of songs that hit me like that. The Deep Dark Truthful Mirror by Elvis Costello,
Oh, that's a
really
great
cool.
one.
Yeah. There's definitely a whole long list of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason why I asked you, because I wanted the opportunity to tell you that one of your songs had an impact on me like that, and it was End of Earth. And there's a line in there that says, if I'm threatened, I build a wall. I beat the drum until I'm satisfied. That to me was the example of great songwriting, because when you can take something and interpret it however you want it to relate to it. Like I don't even really know what that was based on from your perspective, but for me, that talked to me in the way I was at personally and creatively and whatnot, because I build walls. And when I heard that line, I was like, oh, I feel seen. You know what I mean?
Ah, good. I mean, it's like, these lyrics sometimes exactly what you're saying and it just comes to you. And other times, it's a little more abstract and you look at it, God, where did that come from? And what actually does that mean? And why did I write it? And then all of a sudden, maybe some time goes by, and then you go back and you're like, I see, that's where I was at. So that's good. I mean, I'm definitely someone that I don't really like when someone asks me like, well, what does that song mean? That I never really fancy answering those kinds of questions or delving into it, because my attitude is, well, it's written in English, and if you can read English, then you can read the words, and you can read into the meaning, and the meaning for you may be very unique and special, and who am I to to taint that with the truth? Let it be what it is for you, and that's the beauty of song. Like, I think it's happened to people where it's like a song has meant something, and then the artist says something about where it came from, and it could actually ruin the whole connection that one individual might have to that composition. So I'm happy to hear that you connect with the lyrics that I wrote, but at the same time, I would be reluctant to discuss any further where the
Yeah.
inspiration may have come from or what it might mean to me.
And see, that's the thing, is that I don't want to know.
Good. You have the right attitude.
So Cheap Shots is fucking great, by the way.
Thank you.
This is going to be part of a full album.
And this, I didn't know until recently. My attitude is, because I'm not, under contract at the moment,
Mhm.
I don't want to have to put any kind of pressure on myself. So my attitude was, if I come to the point where I feel like I have a collection of songs that sound like a record to me, then I can make a plan to release a record. So I'm here. And the idea is to put it out to coincide with dates that I'm going to be doing in the fall.
Mhm.
I'm leaving for a European tour in June,
Yeah.
and all those dates are on the website. And then I come home for a while after that, and I'll go back out in the fall in the States. And hopefully by then I have a release date, I'll have the record out, and that's the plan. But up until a few weeks ago, I wasn't sure. But now that I can hear everything, I'm sure that I'm putting out a record. Every band in the world says, "Oh, we're writing our album, we're going to release it, and, blah, 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 this and that." But because I'm one guy, I have the luxury of playing a little free and loose with it.
One of the things I remember, I was reading with you in an interview, is that you're a fan of the John Mayer album Continuum.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's true.
what a brilliant, and it's so fun because I didn't really get into him until like probably about 7 years ago.
Mhm.
And his song Vultures and Gravity.
My wife goes through phases where she'll get like a band or an act, an artist, and then she'll just go down the rabbit hole. And I turned her on to the Stormbringer album with Glenn Hughes and David Coverdale. I studied that album. I mean, I like, tried to sing like, Glenn, and then the next time I tried to sing like David, and it's probably why I sing the way I do. Then we were driving to Big Bear, and then she had that John Mayer record and put it on, and by the end I was like, man, that is a fucking masterpiece of an album. It's so good, and it's just a great album. And yeah, you brought it up. I'm confirming. I'm with you.
John Mayer actually hooked up with the members of the Grateful Dead to do Dead and Company. And reading a lot of interviews with him, he had talked about how it kind of like changed his whole perspective on music and guitar playing and everything. And I was always surprised how many musicians that I've talked to actually have listened to. Like, have you ever dove into the Grateful Dead's music at all?
No, just like the ones, the popular ones. You know what I mean?
There was such a deep catalog of theirs where the music, the musicality was so much more involved and intense, and to see Mayer playing these songs out of his normal zone, like, it looked very challenging. The reason why I was asking you that is because is there an act that you could ever see yourself saying, like, not even for full time, but maybe a tour or part time, that you could see yourself being a part of, like that, where you're not in charge? Finding yourself challenged by the concept of playing music that is outside of your scope.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty. There's so many bands that I love what they do, like that. I don't want to start naming bands, and then suddenly, like, I see on the press that, says he wants to join, whatever band it is. But I will say there's definitely a lot of acts out there
Mhm.
that would be fun to play with, I mean, definitely. I love being a solo artist. I've been a solo artist I came out of the gate a solo artist. In
Yeah.
1989, I put out a record and for a while I averaged an album a year, and then I'd had some stints in some popular bands, and then, obviously we formed the Winery Dogs, which I love. But there's a beauty to having other people involved to help pull the wagon. You know,
Mhm.
I remember when the Winery Dogs came together, I had come off of an album called 24 Hours. I did a lot of touring in Europe, and it was a lot of work. And I said to someone, man, I wish just for a little bit, just for a breather, I could do something more of a collaboration so that I didn't have it all on my shoulders. Now, I love all on my shoulders. Like, well, it's been, a good 10 years plus that I hadn't really, collaborated with anyone. And then the Winery Dogs came together, and it was nice. But then after doing 2 albums, I was like, okay, now I miss Richie. I want to go back to doing what I was doing before.
Right.
And home is where the heart is, and on and on. But uh the notion of once again doing something is appealing. It is
Mhm.
appealing. I have a record with Adrian Smith from Iron Maiden, and we're probably going to be putting out new music, sooner than later.
Mhm.
Keep an eye out for it. That's a great thing for me because now I'm in a position where there's 2 lead singers. I can lay back and say, oh, go ahead, sing. I don't really feel like doing a guitar solo, or vice versa. And so the idea of collaborating, or maybe down the road, there's another thing that pops up, or there's a band that is a band that I already am familiar with and love their music, and
Mhm.
that sort of thing. Those things are always intriguing. I don't sit around and look for it. I'm not like picking up the phone saying, "Hey, you know, I need a gig." You never know what's around the corner. We'll put it that way.
Well, so you got the extensive European tour coming up, and you said you've got the some US shows hopefully, and hopefully that'll bring you out to the Southeast again. I saw your show in Atlanta at City Winery, and that was one of my favorite shows of the year. So I
Cool.
hope you
Thank
can top yourself, man.
Hope so. I'm coming around, so be on the lookout. We're going to put some dates. We're going to announce it real soon here.
Okay.
United States tour that'll probably pull me down your way. That'll be in like September, October. So,
We just moved to South Carolina, but you'd be worth the trek back to Atlanta to see if
and
you
I
go.
might be coming through there too. So it's going to be a long one.
Well, let me know, man. First round's on me, man.
All right, I
You can
like it.
come hang out with the Dobie over here.
Hey, yeah, I'll be right at home.
Well, look, Richie, thanks so much for taking the time, man. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully we can do it again sometime and kind of build off of this one.
Excellent. Thank you. Cheers.